Hello guys. It is so hot that I was straight up thinking I probably wasn't going to stream today. But I do want to play, so instead I will simply play until it becomes unbearable to wear a headset. At least, unluckily here, like it should start raining in the next few days. That's gonna help so much. Right now it is absolutely disgusting to live in my apartment, because I live on the sunny side. Meaning I don't really get a break, no matter where I go in my apartment. Because every room goes, like, is out towards the sun. So it's just hot everywhere in my apartment. It's terrible. So uncomfortable. So yeah, I wanted to play yesterday, because the Wukong aspect came out, but it was just honestly too hot, so I decided not to. But at the same time, like, just seeing the aspect, I went into Nika's stream as well just to see it a little bit, but like, I don't know, the aspect didn't seem very interesting. The more I looked at it, the more it didn't really change anything. You just play him the same way, or it's even worse than just the base version of him. But I will try the aspect myself. I definitely just want to play Wukong as well. I definitely want to do some more Wukong. And when I do that, I might as well just try the aspect, see how I like it myself. It probably isn't bad necessarily, but it doesn't seem like it does much outside of just the normal base Wukong. I don't really think it's gonna make that big of a difference. Which is unfortunate, because I think the idea behind it is really cool. Like, kind of basing it off the transformations, giving different effects and stuff, but I don't know, I guess the functionality of it and what it does just isn't very interesting to me. It's kind of how I feel about the Sobek aspect, where they're changing the plug, which I think is a good idea, because that's a good way to change how Sobek plays, but the way they changed it, I don't like. Realistically, I don't know what they should do to make it, like, cool. Because Sobek is just kind of awkward overall. But I actually wouldn't mind, like, them changing Sobek's dash into something that... Maybe it's not even changing the dash, it's just maybe removing the plug, making it just... I don't know, it could be like an Acne dash type thing, where maybe it leaves behind something that could deal some damage, or like a slow, or some shit like that. But then maybe lowering the cooldown on his 2 and his 3 and giving them more scaling or some shit like that, because that could actually make him a damage dealer. It's awkward, because I think Sobek could be so cool as a damage dealer, or a jungler, or a solo, or whatever the fuck, but yeah, it hasn't really been played with around with as much as I would have liked to see them do. And I want to play more Sobek too, in a different way than he is as a frontline. Let's pick something, or ban something. Do I still just ban the elephant? I guess so.
Select your god. I need to take a look at the aspect. Yeah, alright. I'll pick up the aspect. Surely the bird is good with int, right? Because it makes sure none
ultimate abilities have less cooldown. I'll try it. Like, surely it's not bad. It's not like you use the transformations much so far from what I've played with Int, because it literally does no damage. You only want to use it to escape. I've said that multiple times. It's actually just a waste. I think having the Ox for the knock-up, though, for an escape is better than the Bird. But if I lock myself into the Bird, I really don't think that changes all that much. No, dodge. Why? Oh, back in the queue then. Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't obvious already, I obviously moved back to haste from Soulstone Survivors. I was getting a bit bored of it. Like, I expected it. It's just another Vampire Survivors cloned game. And I'll probably still play it here and there in my own time, but for now, I don't think I want to sit and play it in the queue. And if I had to guess, I'll probably imagine, at least from a viewer's experience type perspective, this game is more interesting to watch than a Vampire Survivors game. At least a bit more immersive, I would imagine. That's also just a part of it. At least while waiting. I really went for that and I missed. Shit. Nay. He's like Subway Surfers, very flowy, yeah. It's fun. Like, he kind of keeps me on my toes during the queues as well, so it's kind of why I play it too. How hot is Denmark at the moment? It is 26 degrees, so it obviously could be hotter, but it hasn't been very hot lately. So yeah, it's more. I think it's just because we haven't really gotten used to it yet. Because 26, well, don't get me wrong, I hate the heat. So as long as you go above 25 or some shit like that, I feel like I'm dying. But um, it has been much hotter than obviously 26 here before. Like when we hit 30 and 31, like there's always like warnings going out because that is just too hot here. It very rarely gets that hot. I mean, everything's fucking banned. I don't fucking know. Kai told me to just pick him whatever, and I'm like, all right, I guess I'll just pick him Thor. Oh shit, he's banned. Or I guess I'll pick him Susano. Oh shit, he's banned. I'm like, well, what the fuck do I pick then? I don't know what else he plays. I low key panicked a little bit because he picked Wukong for me, and I had to pick for him. It's like I'm not awake enough for this shit yet. Fucking hell. Yeah, I think another reason why the heat gets to me an extra bit is because I live in an apartment that's only on the sunny side. Like, no matter which room that I go to, there is a window to the sun. So no room ever gets cooling. Like, no room is cooler than the others. Well, that's not entirely true, because my PC, obviously, and my dog is usually in my own room. Which obviously makes it a lot harder than it needs to be, but it's just the fact that it's so hot everywhere I go in my apartment. I can't really get a break from it, so to speak. All I really have to help me out is a fan right beside me. I tried a whole bunch of shit. Like, I literally tried, like, buying, like, one of those, like coolers that will just, spew cold air. It was a cheap one. I mean, it probably was the reason why it was cheap, but it didn't really work out very well. But it was a recommendation from a friend who said that it worked. So it was just that hot, I guess, in my room that it didn't make a difference. So, but usually it's fine. Like, the biggest problem for me is just that I don't like the heat. Right? It's inescapable. It just is what it is. I just kind of accept it. And the fact that I'm now streaming with a headset on, it just kind of makes it worse. Headset just makes you feel more like it makes you feel more cramped and obviously a lot more hot around your head. So it's just a few things that makes it worse. But hello, Paul. I definitely do feel a weakness towards heat in general. I don't like it. I'm very much a winter person. It's the Viking genes, I guess. Yeah, it wasn't an AC unit. It was more like it was literally just like almost like a vacuum type thing, like in size. You can drive it around. It wasn't plugged in or anything like that. It was literally just you put, well, it was plugged in, I guess, just in like a box. But you just put a bunch of ice in it, and then it would cool out everything. But eventually, that ice will just melt. So it was a lot more manual and very, very bothersome to deal with. So it wasn't really worth it. I just kind of ended up like I used it one summer, and I was like, yeah, I mean, it's too much fucking effort for it to barely make a difference. So I stopped using it. How do you feel about the Wukong aspect? This is my first time playing it, so we'll see. We will see. I didn't play yesterday. It was just simply too hot. I looked at it in Nika's stream just to get an eye on it. But I mean, after seeing that it didn't really make a huge difference, like it's not something where I looked at that I was just like, oh, I lost my flu. Oh, Kai cooked me. So yeah, I mean, I looked at it. Let's just grab the bird here. I looked at it and it didn't change anything. Where I was like, yeah, that's super exciting. Let me just go play that right now. No, that's not exactly how I felt about it. It doesn't really change anything. It just adds a little more passive stuff to him. It's gonna be pretty passive. I won't be able to fight Ymir for a while. Especially now that I don't have blue buff. How could Kai do this to me? Like, I don't really think my mind is gonna change on the Sun Wukong aspect. Like, it's just... It's a passive thing. It doesn't really change how he works. I think the only thing that could change how he works is the attack speed thing. But attack speed items are dog shit on melee characters. For the most part. Like, you just don't really have good attack speed items, so it's so awkward to make work. Otherwise, I think that could definitely work. It's a cool idea. I'm gonna save my TP. In case I need it. I actually do need want to take a look at this. Now I obviously do have some cooldown in them. 10 seconds. Does it show up the extra cooldown that I get out of the bird form? Yeah. The muscle memory kicked in. I tried to just fucking stun him or knock him up or something. Bird ain't gonna do that.
Enemy ultimate down.
He's aspect Nem. Good bait. I keep forgetting to take a look. It says 10.43, right? So it's still 10 seconds. Okay, so I guess it should count when the bird is active. No, never mind, because now I don't have it, right? It reset. There we go, fixed. Dude, that's gonna be so weird getting used to, though. Let's go finish up that Kronos pendant.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Enemy ultimate down. Defend. Ward the Gold Fury. Gank left lane.
In range, wash them away.
Definitely is lower cooldown. But also have a Kronos pendant now, so...
Nice.
You move like a jaguar.
Damn it. I could fight if I just
It's under attack.
stop missing shit. No! Yeah, I was hoping the range was enough. Just grab more cooldown. I do wish it had a passive indicator to tell me how much cooldown it actually made, like, lowered it. Because how the fuck am I supposed to know?
Ultimate is ready.
left tower is under attack.
I'm going for jungle buff.
Have fun.
Completed.
Enemy missing right. Cancel that. Your middle tower is under attack. Your left tower is under attack. Your right tower is under attack. Enemy missing right.
I'll attack right lane.
Help! Okay.
No. I'll attack right lane.
Your middle tower is under attack. Like a jaguar. Ally has been slain.
Attack right lane.
Okay.
Attack. Defend the gold fury.
I mean, why have you backed?
The enemy team has destroyed the gold fury.
I'm in right to gank. Like, if you just stay, we quadra kill them. Like, stop being a fucking animal.
Kai is on it. He ain't probably ain't wrong though.
One use is all
But
I
actually, I do feel like... No, I don't know who this Scylla is. I recognize that guy though. That Q guy is an absolute fucking terrorist every time I've seen him. And I feel like I don't actually say that very lightly.
Ultimate is ready. Attack right lane. Attack right lane.
Give it time.
enemy has been slain.
On my way.
Your left tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack.
That's no good.
Damn. Well, at least I stopped him from from TPing, but kind of sucks that I lost my ult. For that.
The pyromancer has arrived.
That's too bad. Gank left lane. Gank left lane.
Probably worth it though, because now he's walking them manually.
Enemy missing right. In range shall wash them away. Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has been destroyed.
I'm tempted to Bloodbound Book again.
Ally has been slain. Your middle tower is under attack. Enemy missing right.
Attack.
Your right tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack. Shut down! Jeez!
We'll get them in the next battle.
That's too bad.
So currently worth playing full damage? Pretty much at the moment, but that's partly because tanks are bad. He probably would be a fine tank. I think Aspect would be pretty good as well if you could build him tank. Because then you could go for the knock-up on the 2. And just stay in Ox form, so you have so much CC actually. Or like 2 knock-ups.
Ultimate is ready. That's no good.
Your left tower is under attack. Your left tower has been destroyed.
That's no good. Enemies in the lane. Thanks.
Your left tower is under attack.
Middle lane.
He does have Sunder, that's interesting. Didn't realize.
Hey there.
The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
This game feels really weird. Like, I'm not really sure what we're rotating for.
Attack.
Your middle tower is under attack. Enemy has been slain.
You can't. Ultimate is ready.
Wash them away.
Completed.
Oof. Absolutely clutch Athena ult. Goddamn. That shit would have killed me.
Good fight.
Or fucking Poseidon would have killed me. What next? I think this time I do want to do Bloodbound. I need something, man.
Be careful, ultimate
Otherwise
is
I'm just
down.
gonna get one-shot by everything. Not to mention the little bit of lifesteal is nice. Just a tiny bit of sustain.
Enemy missing right. Cancel that.
Attack.
Actually, how the fuck does that not one-shot? That's crazy.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Attack. Attack.
Your middle tower is under attack. Oh, you move like a shot.
Let's just rotate manually then. I could tell that he was trying to just stop me.
Double kill. Triple kill. Oh, you move like a shot.
Attack.
Beware the shifting sun. Your right tower is under attack. Stay back.
Let's go in then. Fucking hell.
Dank. Retreat.
That sucks.
Tower is
I thought he was just gonna follow me. Like, surely we just go in there, but... Oh well. It does suck I didn't have beats. Or my ult, for that matter.
Attack.
Attack. Yeah, he has to die for this.
I will be your shield. You can't run from your fate.
I do think it's unfortunate that you can only really play Wukong.
I mean, my kit was down and there was a Ymir TPing in, so I couldn't have killed him.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
The enemy team has destroyed
I think it's unfortunate you can only really go int on Wukong, just because of the fact that you get bigger abilities with int. Like, just it feels like you have to go int just for that reason. Obviously, if they made it so that int was just bad on him, yeah, sure. I mean, obviously then you're going to have to go strength, but it would defeat the purpose of giving him the +1. Because it's really cool. It just sucks that it's only with int. Maybe strength should give some different kind of effect. That sucks. I forgot the fucking wind sprite is there. Fucking hell. Hate those fucking things.
On my way.
Completed. That's too bad.
Your right tower is under attack. Enemy missing right. Hasta la vista, amigo.
Help!
On my way.
Enemy missing middle!
Enemy has been slain.
No!
Enemy has been slain.
Need healing. On my way.
I will say, I do feel like the aspect with cooldown does feel good once you have a few more items online, so I can ability spam a bit more. Because I can definitely tell that my abilities are available to me a lot. Which obviously feels good. Alright, I think I'm gonna go Rod next. And this might be one of those situations where I think I have to go for an op shard as well. I haven't tried it my strength, but I think melee scaling would work if the Tiger into combo. Assassin type style. Yeah, I think it would work if there was better attack speed items. That's also a part of it. I said that earlier too, during this game, that the attack speed part of the Tiger as well would work if there was good melee, like attack speed items. It's the same thing reason why Bologna and like Arma, shit like that, hasn't really been good for a long time. It's not because they're bad necessarily, it's just because there's no items for them to build.
It's ready.
It feels horrible. Ouch. You're just such a poke bot.
Tower is under attack.
I have one job.
Your middle tower is under attack.
It's gonna feel better once I have more items.
Attack.
On my way. Your right tower is under attack.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh no, I could just feel it in my bones.
Your right tower is under attack. Beware the shifting sand.
Good luck.
Your left tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack. Your left tower is under attack.
I really want to get 20 before the next fight. Like real bad. I'll just realize dodging waste level 20 or level 19. That's really bad. That dude needs some farm.
Enemy ultimate down.
Absolutely spiffy.
Every time.
Enemy missing left. Enemy missing right.
Attack fire giant.
The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
That's too bad.
Take middle lane.
Defend.
Man, I want rot so badly.
On my way. Very strong. Hasta la vista, amigo. Very good. Yes.
I'm kind of holding on here, but these fights are really not great. Like, I have to be at the beginning of these fights. The biggest strength we have in the team comp that we have, especially having a Wukong with it, is that I need to poke them before we initiate. Because it's so easy for me to just get one of them low, or at least give them a huge hit before the fight even begins. Now I can finish my starter as well, just for an extra bigger hit. Extra big. So let's do that.
Ultimate is ready.
Enemy missing right.
Cancel that. Okay.
Enemy missing middle.
Defend the fire giant.
Your team has destroyed a left enemy tower. Retreat middle lane.
Group up. Group up.
Wash them away.
Oof.
Enough of that.
Help.
Be right back. Oh, he's the wrong team. I am sorry. On my way.
No, man. I missed. I don't think I would have killed anyway, but
Attack.
fucking hell. They have warts everywhere. Fucking Aladdin keeps poking me.
Enemy has been slain.
No, get me out.
Your right tower is under
There you
attack.
Attack fire giant.
I think I want to do Murden again next. I just do a double one. That's just the funniest shit. It does suck because I'm gonna end up losing on pen,
Gold fury.
but I don't think I'm not gonna be the one who kills the tanks anyway.
No problem.
So whatever. I really cannot tank this though. Ymir has Sunder, we have to kill him.
Wash them away. Destroyed the fire giant.
Just fall back, boys, before the rest show up. We're getting too low here.
Your left tower is under attack. Ally has been slain.
Great work, everyone. Nice one.
Your left tower is under attack. Enemy has been slain. Fabuloso. That was a good fight.
Yeah, cock is huge. It's so funny. I don't know why that's actually getting auto modded. Don't worry, I'll allow it in a second. One of them has to be Aladdin. I want to look for Aladdin.
No problem.
Come back.
Ultimate is ready.
Your team has destroyed the Gold Fury. Your right tower is under attack.
Attack left lane. Attack left lane.
Okay, this is a bit much, I think, boys.
Retreat. Retreat. You cannot middle lane.
Your right tower is under attack. Hasta la vista, amigo. Double kill. Shut down. Your right tower is under attack. Ooh, an ally has been slain. Your right tower is under attack.
Attack.
Your middle phoenix is under attack. Your middle phoenix has been destroyed. Your titan is under attack.
I don't think I had to go for him. I only did it because Kai told me to again. Dude, fuck me, man. What the fuck was my team doing that team fight? That sucks. I think I could have just gotten away. I don't see why I had to fight him. I turned around because I thought he was low, because people were spamming to attack. Like, I don't think I could. I didn't need to at all. I just fucking fly around one more time and he's not able to. It's unfortunate. Still a pretty fun game, but it feels pretty bad losing games like that. How hot is Denmark? It's 26 degrees at the moment. Do you prefer with or without the aspect? I think aspect is probably slightly better if you're running with int, because your ult and your 3 is generally useless anyway for damage. You don't really want to use them for that. Like, as you saw, I pretty much only ever used my ult if I needed to escape, or if I needed to, like, immune some kind of CSC type thing, you know? You literally only ever need to use your transformation to escape. There's no reason not to just keep it in bird and have lower cooldowns on your 1 and 2. Because that's all you'll be spamming anyway. So yeah, I mean, general thoughts on the aspect is that it doesn't really change much. It doesn't add anything more fun to the god than just the base Wukong. It just means you can ability spam just a little bit more, but honestly, I didn't really feel a huge difference. I'm not gonna lie to you. It would help if they had some kind of indicator how much cooldown it actually gives you. I have no idea how much it lowers the cooldown, if it's even worth it. Is it like half a second? Because then it's not worth it. If it's like 2 seconds, then yes, absolutely worth it. %. Yeah, I mean, I think that would be pretty big. Maybe I can see it here, actually. Let me check real fast. No, I wish they would give more detailed explanations on aspects. I need numbers, man. Yeah, aspects don't show in lobby. It's really annoying. But yeah, if it's 25%, then yeah, I mean I think that's alright. But that will also only get lower as your cooldowns get lower. That almost doesn't even sound worth it, because if you have, it's nice for early game, I suppose, but if you have your, let's say, Chronos Pendant and like the Spear of Desos, as you would probably usually have in something like this on Wukong at the moment, then you're just in a situation where that 25% will only get less and less, because I believe it's 12-second base cooldown on the cudgel. I'm not too sure about the two, but probably about the same. So I mean, once that goes less than 10 seconds, you'll just won't have as much value. I don't know. It's tough. But even 1 second probably would be worth it, to be honest. It probably is worth it, I think is my general consensus on it. Go faster. I'm cooked.
For God.
What do I feel like playing now? I still kind of want to do Vulcan just for the, it's called, for the skin, but do I really want to do Aspect Vulcan right now? Yeah, fuck it. I'll do an Aspect Vulcan game because we need the magic anyway. I'll try not to bore you guys to death with the Aspect Vulcan, okay? But I don't know how. But I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to do non-aspect Vulcan though, because that shit in solo, like, it's begging to be camped. And every time I try to do that, it just doesn't work out. And then my teammates hate me. I don't need that. No. We didn't have a last person dodge! Why? Why do you queue and then dodge last game? Or the last person too? Why does that happen so often as well? Who was it? Who did it? Can they heat fuck off already? Hey, Sindern. I wish. I wish. It's still gonna be here for so long, man. It practically just started. Yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you. I live on the sunny side as well in my apartment. There is no room that doesn't have sun burning on it, so I just can't escape it. I don't have a cool room in any way. It's terrible. The only consolation I have is at least I'm not filled with black fur like my dog, and he probably feels terrible in this heat. I feel bad for him. But also a little afraid, because I gotta keep an eye on him. Make sure he always has water and all that stuff. More than usual. Yeah, I can't turn my fan up all the way on me because I'm streaming and it would fuck up my mic. So while I stream, like this is also the other thing that keeps me from streaming a little bit when it's really hot, is that I can't have the fan on me because obviously it's gonna fuck with the mic. I have a headset on, which makes it way hotter than it needs to be. It's just, on a really hot day, there's a high chance I will not be streaming just out of that. Today I decided against my better judgment. Because I wanted to play and I decided to, I wanted to stream while doing it. That's pretty much it. So here I am. But if I feel like it gets too much or I get a headache or some shit, then yeah, I'm just gonna stop streaming. Go do something else. Dude, can the Q pop though? Let me go here so I can actually see it. I like the colors in this map. I like a good golden light blue combo. Appreciate the misplay on our behalf. I do fuck up a lot when I look over at chat. Just stumble into shit. Shit. Oh no, my momentum. Okay, it's fine. Wait, is Prime pretty Prime? Or is that a different Prime? Stop tapping me out. What are you guys playing these days? If you're not playing Smite. Or if you're playing something else on the side of Smite. With Ghost of Yotei coming out somewhat soon, I decided to replay Ghost of Tsushima. Because I felt like the first time I played it, I didn't appreciate it enough. Because I just wasn't in the mood for a samurai game at the time, but I just kind of slugged through it a bit. And I felt bad. I always kind of felt a little bad about that. Because I knew it would be a game that I would really enjoy if I was just in the right mood for it. So, and now I'm actually in the mood for it, so I'm replaying that. And I just bought the director's cut as well on Steam, so there is more content to it as well. So, Dragon's Dogma 2 and Persona 5, yeah, those are really good too. despite the, I mean, I'm not gonna sit and say that I think Dragon's Dogma 2 was like peak, but I definitely enjoyed it a lot more, I think, than a lot of other people did. I love the shit out of it, to be honest. I just really like the like immersive type gameplay where you just kind of run around and explore without really having a whole lot of hand-holding. I appreciate that stuff, and I really enjoy the combat. It just feels good. Yeah, it's pretty nice Capcom like normal combat, but very good nonetheless. Look at Kai calling me to do stuff in the last game, getting me killed, and then he takes my solo. Can you believe the audacity of this guy? Unbelievable. I don't believe my eyes. Just finished FSN Remake. That's also a good one.
Select.
Looking forward to part 3. Expecting some big stuff from it. Yeah, Persona 5 as well. It's just, yeah, I mean, I like the Atlas games in general. Like, I'm looking forward to the remake of 4 because I haven't played 4. I'm a pretty recent like fan of the Persona games because I started with 5, and then I went back and I played Metaphor, and then I played the 3 Reload, and I mean, I loved all of them. I don't think there's a single one that I didn't really enjoy. Played Persona after Expedition 33. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the closest one in terms of presentation. Not so much in terms of like storytelling and all that stuff, but it's very clear inspiration, I think. Yeah, they're all really good. Mechanics of Persona very cool. Yeah, I like it. I agree. I probably need beats this game. It's either beats or an Aegis. I'm scared of Thor. Primarily. But I would prefer Aegis for Cupid. And everyone else, but yeah, the Thor stunts are the scariest part on that team, probably. Do I go Devil Gloves? I probably do now, don't I?
Sure I can have this? Thank you.
I'll try it. Instead of Serrated. There was Interserrated. Yeah, I thought about it. I just think it sucks that I would have to delay everything else, because like items like Crusher and Hydras and all those are just really important too. But yeah, I did think about it. That does sound pretty disgusting once you finish them.
Enemy missing middle.
Minions have spawned.
Love this character. Yeah, Bari is fun. I like her. I'm also a pretty recent enjoyer of Bari. It's clearly some slow ass shit. Ah, man. Fucking junglers were cooked. I didn't think he was 3, so I saved. I just decided to beats, but I guess that was a mistake. There wasn't any call, so I just didn't expect him to be there. I usually keep an eye out for it if I hear that they're in the death jungle somewhere.
Your right tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack.
I suppose the good part is the support got both kills, and not the jungler. Just XP wise.
Enemy missing left. I can still fight.
Your right tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack.
Man. I hate this so much. Why are we leaving Afro open as well?
The rain shall wash them away.
It's so annoying.
Your left tower is under attack.
Can't really do much but just farm. Like, Wells are just getting giga ignored right now by our jungler. Would be nice if we could get some kind of help after Thor showed up. We kind of need some kind of push to get back into this one. Actually just caught me mid-dash. That's absolutely horrendous.
Your middle tower is under attack.
An enemy has been slain.
Fucking dude, they have so much fucking CC. I keep getting interrupted in my 3. I hate this. Yeah, I don't think I can go for what I wanted to originally. Just because I actually just need anti-healing so fast. I really need anti-healing. As fast as I possibly can. Kinda got body blocked by Cerberus there. That was unfortunate. I think I might have reached. I accidentally just bought this anyway, which is not great. But whatever, at least I can finish it. And not like it's bad, but it's definitely just not as good.
Your left tower is under attack.
Enemy missing left. Please.
Would have been nice if I had my ult up for that fight though. Just didn't, because there's a 1,000,000-second cooldown.
I am sorry.
Enemy has been slain.
Enemy ultimate down.
After all done.
Attack. Your right tower is under attack.
In range, wash them away. Enemy has been slain. Double kill. Shut down.
Attack.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Surely I can get this without being in trouble. Maybe I still go Devils, I don't know.
Guys, left lane.
An enemy has left the game.
Enemy missing left.
Your right tower is under attack. Pyro has arrived.
Nah, I probably shouldn't go Devils at this point.
Your right tower is under attack. On my way. Forget it.
I think I go Brawlers first.
Should be careful with this.
With both Afro and Cupid. Kind of feels like it would be stupid not to. Are you kidding me? He didn't even try to stun me with that. And again. Of course he would interrupt me again. I don't believe this shit.
Did Cupid beat?
I don't think so. I didn't see it, at least, if it did. I think it was just an Afro ult. SR check? I'm like 5.6. Something like that.
On my way.
I think highest I've been this season is like 5.8? 8 or 7. I haven't been very high this season. When I get high enough, I always end up with a losing streak out of nowhere.
Your right tower is under attack.
It's a part of it, I suppose. Actually, what was even banned this game? With Afro and Bari being open, what the hell was banned? And Thor. Some people always ban Thor. Strange.
The rain shall wash them away.
Your team has destroyed a middle enemy tower.
Got the kill at least. Somehow. Well, I actually did get the kill. How did I get the kill? Acne hit him last. Do I have any dots? I don't even know. I think I could have played that a little bit better though. I do hope they surrender though. I mean, at this point we just have a... like, the enemy jungler just rage quit, I guess, so... now this game is kind of boring.
An enemy has left the game. An enemy has left the
Oh.
game.
I'll get him.
An enemy has
Ah. Dude, they all left? Why didn't they just surrender? I don't get it.
Till our paths
Victory.
again.
Okay. Back on haste. I can check real fast where I am actually. Let's see. I'm 5.5 actually. How am I 5.5? I mean, I guess there was this huge like losing streak-ish down here. So 5.5. Still kind of salty I lost the last game on Wukong. That game felt like I should have been a free win. but I digress. Damn. Thought I could squeeze through there. There's no way that fucking rocket just bounced off the building and hit me. Some bullshit. I might, even if it doesn't get too hot, like I say in my stream, I might just end if it gets too hot. Obviously, I've said it before, but I might have to end early if my my little brother texts me, because there is something I have to take care of if he messages me, and just then I will have to leave it either way. But preferably, I would like to be able to play at least for like an hour more, at least. Still a little too short for my taste, though. And do not forget to stay hydrated, folks. Even if you're just sitting still. Don't take the risk. I'm so high up. I was too high up, actually. Oh, it's catching up because I'm not moving forward enough. Run. I believe I have an immunity if I pick up these stars 25 times each. So every 25 star I get immunity. At least that allows me to just run into shit sometimes. This is my least favorite map. By a pretty large margin. And I was tapped out. I'm cooked. I gotta just focus on momentum. Dude, the RNG on this one is terrible. There's no good path. I don't know who our first pick was, but he DC'd now. Damn it. Damn, I'm just fucking cooked here as well. There's actually just no chance. There's so much shit in this path. Fuck. Oh well. God, Valley. You guys hate each other, huh? Are you trolling or do you guys hate each other? I never know. I've said it before, but I can't tell if a conversation is serious if Philly's in it. I wouldn't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You guys do you. It's not like I have a say in it. Oh, can I upgrade something there? I need 2k for something. I just forgot what it is. Is that just a power? It is. Well, fuck. That's not worth it. I don't want this. Sorry for that. Yeah, I mean, I obviously don't know what's happening between you guys, but like, you do you. Someone else might dodge anyway. I mean, it's nothing personal against me, so it's fine. You guys do what you gotta do. Do I want to try it? No, I don't want to try it. I like the power I have. What else can I spend money on, though? No, man. Everything's so expensive. I think we're all kind of weird, to be honest. Only weird people decide to play Smite. Yeah, I mean, I can clearly tell you guys have some history. That's fine, right? But feel free to keep it to the private chats, and not mine. A lot of people have their baggage, like coming into Smite. I just prefer to keep my chat clean, at least. Like, I have nothing personal against you guys. If you guys have beef, it is what it is, right? I'm not gonna come between that. Just, yeah. Keep it out of the chat. That's pretty much all I ask. You're too nice. I mean, it would be a different case. Like, I have a stance. If it's just a game, right? Obviously, I have a different situation if I'm standing in front of a person who might have done something bad. But, like, online, you constantly hear all this shit and like people accusing people. It's just, I don't care, man. It's just online. Like, I don't know you, right? We can talk like we know each other, like in game and stuff, but on at a realistic pace, you know, we don't actually know each other. I'm not gonna blame you for something someone else called you out for, you know. So that's pretty much just it. Could be bad, could not be bad, but ultimately I don't really know. There's no proof in my eyes, so I'm not just gonna sit and just believe everything that I hear. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of bad people that you meet online playing games with you, you know. But like, am I sitting gonna whine at every single one that I meet? No. It sounds like a waste of my time. I can't do anything about it. And I don't know if it's true. I mean, that's probably the main thing. But anyway, it's not like I wanted to indulge the conversation. Just keep it out of the chat. That's pretty much all I ask. You're always free to just private message each other if you want to talk, you know? But it's not why my chat is there. Otherwise, I'm gonna start having to time people out, you know? I don't want to do that. That requires effort. And button presses. I don't want to do that. But I will, if I have to. Which probably reminds me that I eventually need some mods. Guys, do I have regulars? Do I have like a... someone who's always in my chat? I need a mod. I really do. The people that usually stuck around in my chat after I quit, I guess, they didn't really come back when I came back. So I don't have any mods to really take care of shit. Matthew could be one, yeah. Matthew could definitely be one. I don't know if Matthew hangs around that much, though. But I trust Matthew. Yeah, Neo was like the obvious one, but Neo isn't like he hasn't been there for a while. He says hi sometimes, but I mean he's kind of moved on from Smite, so that's fair. I don't know if Matthew is calm enough though. I like Matthew. Like, we've been on the same team, but I know he's got a short fuse at times. I don't know if I need like a bomb to be my mod. No disrespect to Matthew, of course. See, where is he right now? Nowhere. I probably would need more than one mod though. Like ideally 2. Some cases 3. He only has that in ranked? Yeah, I imagine. I'm just trolling him. I just know he's very passionate about Smite 2. In the, I guess in a negative sense. Not fully, I suppose, but... I know he has some thoughts and feelings about how Smite 2 is compared to Smite 1. Which is fair. Dude, I'm glad the queue popped now, but how long did that take? I didn't even know. I didn't look. That felt like forever. Is this a plus 5-minute queue? This is so slow now. The other run... Oh, fucking no, I tapped out. The other run had been going for so long and had so many upgrades and so much speed that now I'm just fucking slow as shit. With no momentum. Is this even the same game? Who is trading me? No. Well, I probably wouldn't actually mind playing mid, but I want to play something... I actually want to play solo, so... I'll pass. We banned Wukong though, man. My Wukong. Shit, what do I pick now? Actually, Bowery is open. Do I just play Bowery again? I really don't want to deal with it. So I guess I'll pick it. In this game, I was actually thinking I wanted to play Nemesis again. But Bowery is just one of those gods that right now I refuse to deal with it. I think it's way too broken. It's unfun. to play against. Yeah, don't worry, Fowler. You don't really need to explain anything to me. Like, once again, like, I'll leave it at this, but like, I can't listen to what anyone says over the internet and start hating someone based off of it. I'll just look at your actions, and that's it. That's the only thing I'll be basing people off of. Just through my own eyes. As long as you aren't being an asshole to me, as long as you aren't doing something that I think is just harmful to others, I'm not really going to say anything. Whatever happens in your life is none of my business. Watch this link. Okay. Oh, well, I mean, it's 4 minutes. Yeah. I mean, I'll watch it, but let's see if I can do that after this game, I guess. Just remind me. I can watch it on stream if you want. I hate their team comp. I need beats again. I think in solo, I actually like Serrated still, more than I do Devil Gloves, because I want to fight early. Serrated is just kind of better for that. Granted, I could try both. No, never mind. I don't want to do that. I need to swap back to the other skin.
Mistakes happen.
Okay. No problem.
Yes.
대박.
Minions have spawned.
It's not just a montage? Yeah, at least I assume that's one of those based on the title. I'll watch it after this. I mean, that's fine. Then I have something to do while waiting for the queue. Then I can be very critical about it. I could be giga critical about it, actually. Oh, this isn't really good for me. That's fine, he didn't really walk up. Now why I threw my 1 when I don't have my 2.
Enemies.
They just rained on your parade.
Enemies spotted.
Disgusting level 3 gank. Absolutely nasty. Who does that shit? I hate when that happens to me. But you know what? I'll take it when it happens to someone else for once. It's so rare in solo that there's almost no way you actually predict it. You would have to get a call from mid and be really careful and keep an eye out. Because how the fuck are you supposed to expect it in ranked? In this day and age.
Feel the breeze.
Hmm.
Not here.
Sunder, huh? No, it wasn't even Sunder. I guess it was just the Baron Brew. That sucks. Tragic. Stun of death I think I should have had. But it is what it is. I expected my minions to carry me there, to be honest. I swear, if that was gonna be enemy minions, I would have died. I don't know what's happening in duo, but they aren't having a whole lot of fun.
Cancel that.
Your left tower is under attack.
Cancel that. Ultimate is ready. Ultimate is ready.
Your left tower is under attack.
I see. Oh, what a shame.
Clean.
Take this jungle back.
Please.
No. Damn, if I hit that, I might just ult all in. I suck. He ages anyway, I guess I'll take that, but I missed. I can't really complain about it because I did it all the time myself, but I hate when frontlines go ages. That shit feels so cheesy. You're already so hard to fucking kill and you have ages. I do have to be careful here though. How the fuck did I miss?
That's too bad.
Sorry.
No problem.
Oh. Great. Let's yes, I love this. Keep going.
I'll attack right lane.
Enemy spotted.
Enemy has been slain.
Not for me.
I guess I got crippled. Does Mordred all cripple or not? Because that shit actually just cripples me.
Your left tower is under attack.
It literally just interrupted me. Unless it's damage. It might have just been the damage. Maybe it wasn't the cripple. But oh well. No, man.
Your middle
I don't know why I'm
tower
actually
is
whining
under
about it. I don't need blue. Just the XP, I guess. How am I missing this? What am I doing? Where am I aiming? It's the easiest hit in the world. He's not even juking it.
Your left tower is under attack.
Mistakes happen. On my way.
Ally has been slain. Your left tower is under attack.
Almost unfair. Maybe you could just Juga Thunderstruck!
Your left tower is under attack.
Just starting to enjoy myself.
Unfortunate that he was just trying to zone me out. I missed my 3 again, though. In the middle of that fight. That would have been fucking huge. It's not looking too good. I'm kind of fucking up too much in these fights.
Tower is under attack. The Pyromancer has arrived. Your left tower is under attack.
Feel the breeze.
Your left tower is under attack. Your left tower.
Relax, boys. Relax. Deep breaths.
Your left tower is under attack. That's too bad. Ally has been slain. The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
Might be pretty cooked.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Your honor is level 10.
조용히 좀 해줘. 감사합니다.
Is self-control a virtue these days?
The enemy team has destroyed the pyramid. Your middle tower is under attack.
On my way.
Ultimate's ready.
Okay, well, I guess I can't fight Mordred anymore, somehow. He heals a lot, and I don't heal a lot. There's a million people here.
Your left
I
tower.
want to see what's happening here, because I don't think this guy's a bad player. He was in a few of my games before.
조용히 좀 해줘.
Just gonna have to mute Pain. His ping is so fucking weird this game. Just the VGS, I guess. Actually, no, it should be pings. I do want to hear VGS.
Ally has been slain.
Please.
Please.
Hasta la vista, amigo. Your left tower is under attack.
Oh, Smite. Why can't we be normal?
Your middle tower is under attack. Your left tower is under attack.
Take care of.
Your middle tower is under attack.
I don't know why he's here anyway. He's just baiting them over here for no reason. When I'm trying to solo farm. Just leave.
Your middle tower is under attack.
It makes it unnecessarily difficult for me to just
Tower is under
solo farm. The more people we are, the more people that's just gonna come to us.
has arrived.
Get him. He has no attack speed because he's so far behind.
Team has destroyed the fire.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, not really that badly played. He probably, if they were same level, he might have gotten him, but he's obviously not. So that's the situation. He's gonna laugh as well? Damn, that's crazy. Insane. Yeah, I think this might be a surrender angle. Because at this point, there's nothing stopping me from just camping me and keeping me down, and then I can't really do anything. And I'm probably the only one who has a god in this game who could carry us. Dude, just run. Why are you even... I don't even know what he's doing, to be honest.
Your right tower is under attack. The enemy team has destroyed the Pyromancer.
I don't know what Pain is doing this game, though. He's being so toxic for no reason. I would say that I expected better of him, but I guess it's nothing new.
Your left tower is under attack. Your left tower has been destroyed.
Yeah. Let's get out.
Defeat.
Weird ego trip that Mordred went on this game. I need to hit up some reports for this one before I forget. I don't know what Onher did this game, but it did feel like he was feeding, to be honest. I can understand jumping in and fucking up once, but like when he kept doing it, I can't really just look past it. But oh well. I don't even know who that Mordred is. I think it was the Athena from my game earlier. Who got super shit on in duo. Surely watch the masterpiece. Yeah, you're right. I'll pull it up. Do I even have an overlay for this? Guess I can just make one. Well, that's not what I was trying to do. I need you to go away again. That's a little big. It's so big. I need to fix this real fast. There's no time for this. Fucking hell. Great quality as well. That's good enough. Let me see if I can get solo though, real fast. Okay, I couldn't. ADC it is then. I'm curious actually. I'm having a conversation here. I'm gonna remove this. The queue was fast anyway. I don't think I'm gonna make it to watching this. Let me remove it for now. I'm having a fun conversation.
Select your god.
Is Neath picked? Well, Barry is picked. I don't want to play Barry again, though. I'll do Neath. I was trying to understand the mindset of this guy, but I don't think he understands it. He's very personal about this. I even told him I'm just bantering. I don't think he understood it. Oh, I gotta turn off the aspect first. Oh yeah, Haze is still on screen. My bad, boys. We didn't even see the conversation. I think it is a dodge anyway, though. Yeah. Oh well. Probably for the best, to be fair. He took it so serious. I was just having a fun conversation. God damn. Some people just can't speak normally. You're melting me too, man. It's terrible. Oh, almost forgot. Away with haste again. Back with the video. There we go. It doesn't have... I can put sound on, I suppose. Actually, it's turned off for some reason. You skipped the best part. All right, I'll turn it back. All right. Let me actually add sound. I think I haven't used this specific setting for a while, so I don't think my headset is actually picking up the sounds on the desktop. Fellow Brosh enjoyer. He told me to watch this. I have high expectations. There we go. Now, there we go. Do you use the colorblind mode? I didn't know. So let me know if it's too loud, guys. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna mute it, because I'm pretty sure this music is copyrighted. I don't want to get hit. It's a pig as well. Give me a second. We have magic. I guess I'll do the Nemesis I never got to play. Your map is crazy to me. It would have fucked my vision if my map was where yours is. I feel like I'm being blinded. I know some people have issues looking at the colorblind mode if they're on colorblind. It doesn't really bother me, but dude, your map is at the right in the middle. I'll turn the sound back on if there is no longer any copyright music in this, but I'm guessing that's gonna be. Usually there is in montages, unless you're lucky enough to find something else good. But I mean, this is Japanese as well, which tends to be incredibly hard to actually get through on the internet or on YouTube. For some reason, I guess it's the specific bands, but holy fuck, dude! So much like anime music and Japanese music just gets super hit. Nasty Pele enjoyer. Ugh. I'm only saying that because I can't play her. I'm seeing a lot of Susano here. But that is also the thing I've seen you play the most. Sorry, it's gonna have to be paused until next queue. It's definitely a beats game. Combat mode is opponents are yellow is OP. Is it? Is it actually? Is there a cheese I don't know about? I wouldn't change it out of the way, I think. I'm too used to just the normal mode now. There are a few names in this queue I don't recognize. Where did everyone else go? Oh, I have this Q guy again. He's always been kind of terroristic when he's on my team. Might not be his fault this time, but... just leaves me with a bad taste. It's already cooked. Today is cursed. Unfortunate. No damage. Oh, the pinging! Oh yeah, Inget sound isn't back on. My bad. Yeah, I had to turn it off because I was using my desktop sound to play the music on the, or to use the sound on the video, but I turned that off anyway. So
Settle this with style. My style. Enemy missing left.
A shame. You showed such promise.
you showed such promise.
Nowhere to run. Nowhere to strike is all I need.
Pretty significant XP lead he's got at the moment.
A shame. You showed such promise.
There's no running from me.
I'll attack you. Best of luck.
Let's settle this with nowhere to run. Nowhere to judgment is my domain.
Your right tower is under attack.
Dude, my jungle despises my mid, my ADC despises my support. Like what? Can't we just relax? All this stress isn't good for you, you know?
There's no running from me. Is all I need.
Help, help, help. Help, help.
Ally has been slain. A shame. You showed such promise.
Let's settle this with style. Nowhere to run. Style. Nowhere to hide.
I'm gonna feel really far behind in XP if it's gonna keep going like this.
One strike is all I need. Let me tip the scales.
Enemy has been slain.
I should fight the second that I finish. Serrated though. I'm surprised that didn't hit me. Just back into it now.
There's no running from me.
Okay. The rain shall wash them away.
Your left tower is under attack. On my way.
Move like a jackal. No trouble at all. If I press it, remind me not to turn
Your right tower is under attack.
to yourself.
Judgment is my domain. There's no running from me. It's one without hitting the scales.
Enemy has been
Nowhere
slain.
to run. Nowhere to hide.
Your left tower is under attack.
Tragic.
Pain's just part of the aesthetic.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Man,
And not fun.
I really tried to make that in time. That's so unlucky.
Okay, 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 okay.
There's no running from me.
A shame. You showed such promise. Well cast.
Let's settle this. No judgment. My domain. One strike is all I need. There's no running from me.
If I just have my ult, man.
Nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. The balance is overturned.
You showed
Let me tip the scales. Ha!
Okay.
There's no running from me. The guilty always fall.
I hope he just kept running, because, like, I literally just try to fucking save him by slowing them.
Cast.
Don't die, man.
Honestly.
Nowhere to
Fuck, I did everything I could.
Your left tower is under attack.
There's no running from me.
Oh well. At least I did get kills out of it, but that is still generally not great rotation. I lost a lot of farm for it.
Nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide.
Your left tower is under attack. On my way.
Let's settle this with style. My style. My domain. There's no running from me.
Your left tower is under attack. Your right tower is under attack. And rain shall wash them away.
One strike is all I need.
Santa Hill Edition, available for Nem and Aspect? Yes. So, if you're talking about the ult specifically, yeah, then anti-healing does not affect the ultimate anymore.
The pyroman has arrived.
So now you can always be the greatest baiter in the world.
Cancel that.
Let's settle this with style. Nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide.
A shame. You showed
Let me tip the scales.
Cancel that.
curse it. And not the conquer.
One strike is all I need. Let's settle this with style. My style.
Pinging and the noises my team making this game, man. Shut up.
There's no running from me. On my way. Nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. Judgment, my domain.
Ain't no way my fucking Man, I just wish these games could be just somewhat normal today, but it's so cursed.
Your right tower has been
I just always have like 1 or 2 trolls in this game. I am gonna mute Cupid though. This guy likes VGS system a little too much. And with the voice like Cupid, that's not a good thing. It's ear piercing.
has destroyed the gold. Your middle tower is under attack. Your right
Nowhere
tower
to run.
is under attack.
Nowhere to hide.
Complete.
Balance is overrated. Let me tip the scales. Enemy missing left. There's no running from me.
What? No.
My domain. The guilty is fine.
That's insane, dude. Okay, so I can't dash past his ult because it still counts as my model being there? That's actually just fucking rigged. Iris. Dude, the way they do abilities and stuff in this fucking game? Like, why? Huge damage.
Enemy has been slain.
Does a lifesteal. It's actually just going full lifesteal build.
Well cast.
Your left tower is under attack.
Nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. Enemy missing left.
Oh. My 2 deaths now, I just kind of thrown all my lead out the window.
Move like a jaguar. The rain shall wash them away.
There's no running from me.
A shame.
Stand hard.
Left shoe.
Not me.
Fabuloso. Juga Thunderstruck.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has been destroyed.
Nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide.
Your middle tower is under
Let's settle
attack.
this with style. My style. There's no running from me.
The enemy team has destroyed the pyramid. Your left tower has been destroyed. Your left
My tower, no.
A shame. You showed such promise.
You started curse? I've always been cursing. What do you mean? I say fuck all the time.
Nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. Balance is overrated.
Cursing has always been a part of me. I love cursing. The fuck is that? Glad shield?
There's no running from me. Strike is all I need.
I want to ride my build's glad shield.
Nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. Enemies in left lane. Judgment is my domain. There's no running from me.
I'm so cooked.
Balance is overrated. Let me tip the scale. Nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide.
Your middle tower is under
Judgment
attack.
is my domain. There's no running from me. Let me
Safe.
Enemy spotted.
Impressive.
Remind me not to turn you into a frog.
Domo.
I don't know, boys. I do not know what I can build to actually help this scenario.
Nowhere to run.
This is
Nowhere
looking
to
kind of
hide.
super cooked either way. And now Ares of all things went and took my blue. And dude, he's level 16, man. We're so far behind on the other side of the map that the support is the same level as our highest level.
Retreat from the jungle. Enemy missing middle. Be careful right.
One strike is all I need. There's no running from me. Enemy missing left.
Who went and did one of these?
Let's settle this with
The
style.
pyromancer
My
has arrived.
style.
Yes.
But now I will say, I'm definitely more annoyed today than usual playing Smite. Today has just been extra criminal.
Destroyed the gold fury.
I can't play the game today, because it feels like every single time, either on the enemy team or on my team, there's just one troll ruining the game.
Retreat.
They have a ward there.
There's no running from me. My domain. Nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. Hit the scales. There's no running from me.
Dude, I hate looking at what I'm seeing right now.
Tower has been destroyed.
Judgment is my domain.
My ult didn't go off when I pressed it. There's no way. Yeah, it's so cooked. Do you hear of the game Legacy? Steel and Sorcery. It's a gem. I love you to stream it. I'm not really much for streaming anything outside of Smite, but I mean I appreciate the recommendations and stuff. But no, I actually haven't heard of it. I'm currently playing Ghost of Tsushima, or replaying, I should say. Played it back when it came out because of all the buzz, and then I played it kind of not really being in the mood for it, and I
Nowhere to run.
felt bad originally when I did that because I just didn't have anything else to do. So I played it when I wasn't in the mood for it and enjoyed it as much as I could have. So I'm replaying it now, kind of in anticipation for the sequel coming. Dude, I'm so low level, I don't even want to fight.
Retreat.
Balance is over. Let me tip the scales.
Your middle phoenix is under attack.
There's no running from me. Ha! Ha! My domain.
Pick it up!
Nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. There's no running from me. It's all I need.
Yeah, I mean, it don't matter. At least I got dagger off of them, but it's cooked. Get him, Ymir! No! Close. I mean, I feel like legitimately, this is the first time in a while, but I feel like just dodging this Q. Because no matter what, it's so fucking cooked against us.
Your middle phoenix is under attack.
I think Ymir actually tried to play this game. He might just not be that good. Susano legitimately just didn't play with us.
Your titan is under attack.
I hate that shit.
Your titan is under attack.
He even admits it in his fucking in chat that he'll just troll if he gets that guy on his team again. I hate that so much.
Center, please.
Your right tower has been destroyed.
When it rains, it pours.
Your right phoenix is under attack.
Actually, what time is it?
Titan is under attack. Your right phoenix is under attack. Your right phoenix has been destroyed.
Shame. You showed such promise. Until next time, I'll be in my tavern. Or the tavern.
Yeah, I can take a look at it on Steam. Alright, let me continue this video or finish up this video. Alright. Let's see what we got. And the sound is muted, by the way, guys, because of copyright, so... Just in case you were wondering why there's no music. Or sound. I've never really been much of like a montage watcher in general. I never really even did it in competitive all that much. Because I always find it kind of like weird in that where you only see the good parts. I mean, that's the whole point. Obviously, it has to look good. But I can't stop thinking about it. Like, everyone makes really good plays. I'm not easily impressed, I guess, in Smite. Maybe it's just that. But yeah, I mean, nothing is bad here, so... nothing negative really to say about it. All I'm really seeing is a lot of Susano, you know? I wish... I do think... a good video overall. But I do think... Yeah, all I can say is it is a video. Yeah, pretty much. I'm not really much of a highlight watcher. I never was, and I guess it's just because that, like, I guess in my mind anyone can really make like a really cool highlight video. Is that they're just not really unique? I guess I can fully understand. Maybe it's just because that when I play and like in ranked, I see plays like this all the time. Not necessarily from myself, because that's usually not the case. But I see those plays being made
Your God.
through my own eyes that highlight videos don't really do anything for me. I don't know. I don't really know why I don't like it. Do I just do Wukong again? Yeah. April's animation still at the end there, yeah. April isn't playing much these days, is he? I haven't seen him in a while. I do feel like the last things that I've seen him play was the Scylla jungle stuff that he was doing. I did have volume on myself, Brosh. Just not you guys. You guys just can't hear it. It was funny. I heard it. Yeah, I'm only muting it for the stream because of copyright. I'm listening to it myself. So don't worry. I saw Kai being a criminal again though. As always. Stealing my blue buffs, telling me to attack, and then I'd go in and die alone. Stealing my solo. Sounds about right. I also don't want to try and sound rude here. I don't know this Angelo guy. All I know is he's somewhat toxic pretty often in my games. That being said, how is he so high elo? I'm confused. Hey, Devane, thank you for the raid, man. Hope you had a good stream. Mine is certainly being very criminal today. Pretty bad games overall. It's not great. Fairly is back. Continuing the streak of negativity, pretty much. I had a good one yesterday, though. Yesterday was good. No, not yesterday. The previous stream, so 2 days ago. It is weird for me that I don't stream every day anymore. I'm kind of limited to every other day now. To not burn out. But yeah, today is just extra special. I don't mind, well, I wouldn't say I mind, but, alright, don't mind. But I would prefer a day where I just lose rather than like people trolling every game, because that's been the case today. I pretty much just have one troll being annoying throughout the game and not wanting to team play or just being tilted or annoyed or just not fun that way. Like, I don't mind playing in a game where my team is trying to win and we're all still giving it our all. I think that shit's still fun, even if I lose. But today it's not like that. We just have trolls and rage quitters and match people. Someone who probably plays higher level are having much longer games. No, it varies a lot. But even in these higher level queues, there are varying skill levels. So in games like today, no. They can be very fast. But if you meet actual like good players, then they tend to be a bit longer, yeah, because that's usually more like back and forth. And an actual like interest, not to mention experience, to know what to do when you're falling behind and how to play from behind. So they don't just give up. A lot of people you see that in lower elo will generally just give up when they fall behind and call it quits. Like, it's over. Go again. But that's not how I think either. If I fall behind, I look for every single small scenario to how can I get back into this? You can always do one last desperate play to get back into a game, especially in Smite 2. It's so easy, quote unquote, easy to come back in Smite 2. There's so much farm on the map. You get so much XP for like off-screen XP, I should say. Like, in cases where, I don't know, how can I put it? There's just a lot of like passive XP that you can farm when someone is dead. You can really easily catch up to someone. And in my rant, I forgot to leave early, so I lost some XP here, but oh well. Sol is an interesting one. Haven't dealt with Sol solo in a long fucking time. And hello, Jordan. I forgot if I said hello. Yeah, I would say falling behind is a good thing. Like, people should know how to play from behind. If you want to be good at the game, you have to know this. Or at least practice it if you want to go anywhere. You'll often see people who's like, it's fine guys, we can still win, just don't do this specific thing. And usually that's not really what you should be doing, depending on what that specific thing is, of course. Like, you need to have a plan still. You can't just hope for the best. I'm playing with fire a bit too much here. I gotta chill. I do have aspect as well. Let's get the bird going.
On my way.
What's a desperate play? It is like a latch-ditch effort to to get something out of whatever shit situation you might be in. So let's use an example. Right now, maybe they have fire and they're pushing right. Well, what could you do about that? Maybe you try and counter push. Everyone go left. We're trying to just go for a base race. You know, shit like that. That's a desperate play. We know we ain't winning a fight. Let's just go for something that could give us an edge. A base race is just a risk because we know we're not winning the fight anyway. We might as well just try and do something else. There's also just big cases to... We're so far behind right now. We know they're going to gold right now. Rush fire, you know, whatever. Something like that. But calls like that also requires experience. So you know how long does it take for them to do gold. Like it's just like an estimate. No one's going to know precisely, but... You know, a lot of it also comes from just experience. Knowing how fast people do things, how fast does it take to rotate, and all that stuff. You gonna pop back out, buddy? Eh? Yeah. Oof. Outrunning fire.
Enemy ultimate's down.
I forgot they had Loki. I was surprised.
Your left tower is under attack.
That's a blue loss, though. That's really bad for me. How much do I need? Still need quite a bit. Out of range, man. Fuck. I go for the kill if I hit that. Well, I didn't know how big it was gonna be. Major has physical Wukong, which is better. It's definitely int, without a doubt. I think it depends on where you put him as well, I guess. But like for solo and for mid, I think you go int. But maybe for jungle, you can go strength. Because the playstyle is different. You definitely play him more like a mage when you go int. Because you have to. You can't really all in. Your 3-year ult does no damage. That being said,
The rain shall wash them away.
it's important to note that your 1 and 2 obviously get much bigger when you go int. I just think that's too big of an advantage late game. It's so powerful. He almost becomes like the best poker in the game. If not actually just the best. There isn't really much counterplay to it because the range is just that long. But I don't think he's one of those gods that will just... The reason why he isn't considered broken, I guess, it's just because you're not going to solo carry with it necessarily. You're not going in and then one-shotting 3 people. That's not really how it works. You're just going to be, like, unstoppable when it comes to poking people. Overestimated the range.
On my way. Your middle tower is under attack. Enemy has been slain.
We're really gonna need that next mana buff. So cooked on mana here. No!
Your left tower is under attack.
Alright, it's back. Need to be ready for this blue.
The rain shall wash them away. Enemy spotted. On my way. Your left tower is under attack.
Did he just young my blue? I thought Sol got it, but I mean, if you get the XP for it, it's still fine, but... I could really fucking use that buff, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Your middle tower is under attack. Enemy has been slain.
Attack! Help!
She's still chasing me. He is a threat when I don't have my ult. It is still though a pretty big trade, I would say, Jordan, because your 3 and ult literally becomes useless on damage. You should only ever save those for when you need to escape in some way.
They hit like a baby.
Fucking hell, my mana. I really, really need... I don't want to back yet, actually.
Your right
I really
tower
need mana
is
buff.
under attack.
Ultimate is ready!
Enemy
Ultimate
missing
is
left.
ready!
The rain shall wash them away. Your right tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack. Feel the power.
I usually do though go Doom Orb as well, I guess, which does have mana regen on it. I could be feeling that difference as well. And Chronos Pen in Smite 2 doesn't have mana regen. Didn't it have it in Smite 2 or in Smite 1? I forgot. Maybe I still have to go for that. Probably not though. I think I have to sacrifice Doom Orb for like a Divine or something this game. Ain't no way I'm dealing with a Sol and a Bari without some kind of anti-healing.
On my way!
An enemy has been slain.
Out of mana! Please!
No.
Sorry dude, I kinda needed myself.
Your left tower is under attack.
So he was taking it on purpose. It wasn't just out of he actually keeps trying to get my blue.
The pyro
Nasty
has
junglers.
arrived.
Just heal.
On my way! Enemy ultimate down!
Nah, the extra healing she does is really annoying, because it just means that I won't be able to really do anything about it. I can't finish her off. I need anti-healing right now.
Lord the Gold Fury.
Loki is definitely scary. I think it's one of the worst things to meet. To what? Tea stille. Tea stille. Alright, the dog's barking. It's one of the worst things to meet, I think, on Wukong. Oops. Because he can just one-shot me without really knowing. I don't know if he's staying around. I'm being underestimated, guys, and I don't like it.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Smite 2 is gonna melt my brain. It's a lot more complicated, to say the least. Than Smite 1 was. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, though. Let's see if he has TP or not. Let's grab this actually. Cooldown is what feels the best on him.
Enemy missing left. Enemy missing left. Your left tower is under attack. Your team has destroyed the gold fury.
Can't even one-shot the archers.
Your right tower is under attack.
For Loki's sake, I am gonna go for this shit again. Let's get Bloodbound Book so I actually have a chance to survive his one-shot ability later on.
Cancel that.
Yeah, Chrono's stats were insane in Smite 1, man. But the stats, they're just also, they're so different in Smite 2.
Your team has destroyed the pyramids. The rains wash them away.
No, you stupid decoy! What are you doing? Why didn't you stay close to him, you idiot?
Destroyed a middle enemy tower. Your right tower is under
I'm not sure that decoy could have finished him off, but I used my 2 so it could hit him. Then the decoy was just sitting in the tower for no reason.
destroyed a middle enemy. Your right tower is under attack.
Spotted.
No.
Wherever there are gods in need.
Enemy ultimate down.
I was ready to take that fight back up until Athena ulted. Well, it was coming up soon.
Your middle tower is under attack. Enemy missing left. Your team has destroyed a right enemy tower.
An enemy has been slain.
Your middle tower is under attack.
We're running really hard for some reason, even though it doesn't really look like it on the scoreboard.
Be careful! I'll attack the Ghost Fury!
An enemy has been slain.
Your team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
One use is all I need.
Playing like this is obviously also a bit easier when you're against the mage. If you're against the frontline, this aspect, or not aspect, this version of Wukong does have a very clear weakness, and that's just like brawling. He can't fight at all up close. Like Modred, Thor, like gods like that will absolutely fucking destroy him early on in lane, because there's nothing you can do against them. Your one, while still does fine damage and range, you know, it has this double thing. When it's above, you know, the 50% mark, it will do bonus damage. But below that, it doesn't actually do that much damage. It's like 75% at far range, and only 37 at close range.
On my way.
Healing!
That's so tragic. I forgot your blink.
I'll attack the fire giant!
Wash them away.
Your team has destroyed the Pyraments.
Enemy has been slain.
I didn't see, man. Fuck, I didn't even realize they were going for me. We got fire at least, so still worth it, but overall, pretty weird call we went with here. But whatever. At least I managed to secure fire. And even though I did get dagger, I didn't realize that they were actually going for me. I'm gonna wait. I wanna finish this. He went for it. I can respect that. Dan not having a good time this game though. Underneath yourself? Oh, it's fine. He was still chasing. I don't know who the Sailor is, but she's playing pretty well. From what I've seen.
Enemy has been slain. The rain shall wash them away.
destroyed a middle enemy Phoenix. Your team has destroyed the whole Fury. Destroyed the left enemy tower. Your team has destroyed a right enemy tower. The Pyromancer has arrived.
Such a long fight we have, because I can't really just go all in. It's just a poke fest, and she has so long time to just run around and use her 3, and it takes such a long time. We gotta start actually trying to finish this game though, before we just let them come back. They still have a really, really good and scary late game team comp. And I don't think they need the gold for it, they just need the levels. Well, Loki needs the gold, I think. Yeah, I mean that's bar damage right there.
Your right tower.
I would love to fight that. But I don't want to waste my beats. As I land, I'm just gonna get taunted. We gotta start grouping boys before we throw this game.
Your team has destroyed the Pyromancer.
I mean, another downside to the aspect as well is obviously you're losing out on some CC. You don't actually have any CC when you go for the aspect like this. When you go for the bird.
On my way.
What?
Enemy has been slain.
Your team has destroyed the Pyromancer.
That fucking blink has helped him so many times. I can't even tell him that it's bad. I don't recommend Sol with blink. It saved his ass so many times.
destroyed a left enemy phoenix.
Bye.
Bye.
Alright. Oh my god, it's so hot.
Victory.
It's so hot. I'll do one more game, and I think I'll end it there. I'm satisfied enough. It's only getting hotter. And I got a message before, actually. Let me check. I mentioned earlier in the stream that if my little brother messages me, I might just have to leave. Alright, yeah, he cancelled, so I don't have to go anywhere. That's good. Then I'll just do one more game and then end it there. I'm so glad he honestly cancelled. I don't want to go anywhere today. It's too fucking hot. It's so hot. I will not be streaming tomorrow though, for sure, because it is my little brother's birthday, so I will be leaving inevitably. Actually, let me check. Do I have any skins on Wukong yet? No, man, I'm not getting enough at all. Like, it was a really fun one, yeah. I mean, those types of games today, fairly, has been terrible. There's not been a single good one where it's just nice and even. It's either my team has a troll, your team has a troll, or the enemy team has a troll. It's just, it's so awkward, these games. Where is it? What am I looking for? Where's this red fucking dot? Oh, whatever. Might just be a border. Hiding. I do think today has been the least fun, at least, in terms of games that I've had. Just consistently. They've just been consistently bad. But it's also generally the same players in these queues who have been doing the same weird things. And I got tapped out. It's a classic. Hope you have more fun now that I've arrived. I'm sure, Bengus. You are a good luck charm. Nothing can go wrong in this one.
Select your god.
Am I boring if I just play Wukong again? Kind of. I do enjoy current Smite at the moment though, so it really sucks that I keep having these like bad games, but I actually really do enjoy playing right now because I've gods I want to play. I'm really enjoying the Nemesis aspect. I'm really enjoying Wukong with or without aspect. So I'm actually excited to play. I like Bari when she's open, but obviously she's bad most of the time. Damn, the 10% fun buff. That is pretty good, but what if my depression buff is higher? How have things been going? Pretty decent. I'm just not enjoying the heat. That's about it. I'm replaying Ghost of Tsushima. Because I didn't feel like I gave it enough time last time I played it, or the first time I played it, and it's been years now, so... Not to mention, because of the sequel coming out somewhat soon, I decided to start playing that. Then I'm playing the Director's Cut as well, so there is some new content that I never got around to play. All the way back then. Like the DLC, I think, came out a long-ass time ago as well, but I just never really got around to it. Because if I ever wanted to return to the game, I wanted to just do a full-on replay. So... Now having it on PC helps out quite a bit. Well, beats don't remove buffs, you know, Bingus. If Loki uses his wand on you and you're bleeding, beats doesn't remove it. You're still in pain. I will still be bleeding out. But I get your point.
One use is all I need.
It's gonna be Uller this time instead of Sol. That is definitely a harder matchup. And a scarier matchup.
Careful left.
Be careful, middle.
Be careful right. I'll attack the tank.
Wounded.
No problem.
Thanks. Be careful.
Minions have spawned.
I just realized my jungler isn't here. Then I'm gonna have to sit back either way. Oh. Yeah, just 3. Oh, I'm gonna lose another pot for this. We haven't even fought, and I'm 2 pots down. Maybe I can save it. Probably not, though. I'm gonna need it. I want to be topped off.
Retreat! Enemies in Enemy spotted!
How much would I need? Do I risk it? It's not that much. 400 gold? Surely I can make it. With ult up as well?
Right tower is under attack.
He still has pots. That's the main issue.
Cancel that. Very good. Your right tower is under attack.
Searcher is interesting, yeah. Obviously, the obvious answer for me is obviously Vamana, right? I want Vamana more than anything else, especially now that Paul is in the game. I Paul and Vamana, and I know people are gonna hate me for saying this, but Hebo is up there too, or Habwa, however the fuck you want to say his name at this point. He's one of my favorites. He always has been. But maybe he won't be anymore in Smite 2, who knows. Wanyu was also one of my favorites for the longest time, but I don't really like him much anymore. I realized after he came out in Smite 2, I was like, I don't really care about this. So anyway, I don't know who besides from those. Tsukuyomi could be fun, but I don't know how much I would really play him. Yes, I know who. Morgan Le Fay. I want Morgan Le Fay.
Enemy missing left.
Go bananas, man.
On my way.
Ultimate incoming.
Enemy has been slain.
Ultimate is ready.
No problem.
Enemy missing middle.
Ultimate is ready.
Just gotta chill until my ult's back up. I really do want to fight him. Just too late now that my ult's down. Tyr? No. Tyr and Freya? Jordan, you are absolutely criminal for saying that. Tyr and Freya. Both, like, highly requested gods from the police. They want them captured right now.
The rain shall wash them away.
I'll try Doom Orb again this time. Maybe help on the mana regen a bit. Because I really just want ability spam.
Enemy missing left.
So badly. It's just so hard with no mana regen.
Your right tower is under attack. On my way. Enemy missing left. Cancel that.
Man, I should have pre-beated. Fuck. That's so stupid. My rod isn't big enough. Not yet. I still need it to grow.
Your right tower is under attack.
Hole size inadequate. Watching from PC and TV, does it count as 2 viewers? I don't think so. But I don't know, actually. I assume it's account-based. So if you're in the same account, then it probably doesn't count. But I don't know.
Your middle tower is under attack.
If you made 2 different accounts, then I guess that would work. So you go ahead, man. Grab me that extra viewer. I really need it. It's gonna make a huge difference. No refill pots? No. I could, but I don't know. It's a mix of me always forgetting about it and not having money for it.
Enemy has been slain.
Retreat! Retreat!
The Pyromancer has arrived.
On my way. Rain shall wash them away.
Almost too coordinated. We both went for that.
Ultimate down. Be careful.
Cold weather affects the magic cudgel. That could be so funny if it had like a debuff, if it was frost. If it got hit by like Scotty ice. Oh fucking hell. Then it would debuff the size of it. Hopefully I can get away with not buying Divine this time. I mean, it's tough. Like, Serratus still heals a fuck ton, and I hate it. But it feels unnecessary to buy life's anti-healing item just for that.
Fabuloso.
Be careful!
He triggered my other decoy. It's just 2 decoys chasing him now. It's fucking triple cudgel. That's so funny.
Destroyed a middle enemy tower.
Also, Blue Knight. I haven't seen her in a while. All good? You just chilling? I actually didn't recognize you at first. I was like, I feel like I recognized the name. It's been so long.
Your right tower is under attack.
I got no job? Oh, that's good. Hope you like it. They hit like a baby.
Oh, he's the wrong team. Sorry.
Enemy ultimate incoming.
Ally has been slain. Oh, very strong. The cold fury on my way.
Enough of that.
Get him, support bots. Yeah.
Has been slain.
I can't believe I actually got out of that. I was lucky. With shell and everything else happening at the same time.
Ally has been slain.
Your team has destroyed the Pyromancer.
Take this jungle buff.
Just gotta keep super farming. All for the big pole.
The enemy team has destroyed the Cold Fury.
Does the old reset to 3? No, I don't think so. At least I don't know if it is. If that's happening, I'm unaware.
Enemy has been slain. You got me right.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Enemy army incoming.
Holy shit, these are an adventure. You go, Nagas. Have fun. Don't fucking kill my wave, though.
Be right back.
Ultimate is down.
Yeah, I believe the aspect makes my...
Ultimate is ready.
Yeah, it's all my non-ultimate abilities that have lower cooldown.
Your right tower is under attack.
The Pyromancer has arrived.
Rain, wash them away.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Double kill.
Your middle tower has been destroyed. Your left tower is under attack.
Middle lane.
Your middle tower is under attack.
On my way.
Your left tower. Destroy the right enemy tower.
I'll defend that lane.
Your left tower is under attack.
On my way.
Well, interrupted it just so I could do that. I think I make it though.
Okay. On my way.
Slain an enemy.
It's so stupid how long range is. You literally cannot get away, man. The pole is too big. It's too veiny. You ain't escaping it. I want this for my pole, though. My team dies, it is what it is.
Middle enemy. Your tower destroyed. Left
Enemy has been slain.
Sign was on gold.
Rain, wash them away.
Your right tower is under attack.
I'm not sure what went wrong there, to be honest.
Defend the Gold Fury.
One use is all I need.
Your right tower is under attack. Your right tower is under attack.
Ain't no way we're missing on the Scylla there. Fuck, dude. We gotta get something for this. They're so out of position. I didn't think that there was gonna be shit behind me as well. That's just a bit unfortunate.
Enemy has been slain.
It's spinning so fast. Tragic. If only my ult was up. Should have waited, I guess.
Okay. Okay.
Lady like a babe. Oh, you move like a jaguar. Ooh.
We gotta just get something here, because this isn't looking pretty good, to be honest.
Cancel that. Cancel that.
Your left tower is under attack.
Please. Please. Please.
Your left tower is under attack.
Thanks.
Your team has destroyed the pyramid. Your team has destroyed the right enemy tower.
On my way.
The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
I'll defend.
Destroyed the pyramid.
Wash them away.
Your right tower
Enemy has been
So fast, dude. Damn. Stampede stacks with the bird. I can be so fast. I need Erendite then. Erendite bird. Dude, Mercury made the sound that I usually have when I get raided. I thought I got raided. He went nah 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 nah. Alright, that's gonna be it for me. It's too fucking hot. And I've gone long enough. I'm satisfied. I got a few wins in towards the end here. Jesus Christ, man. I'm just wet and I hate it. I haven't done anything. Why am I wet? Before I leave though, I gotta find this red dot. Where is it? Is it a border? Is that why? No. I don't know, it's hiding from me. Nem? Am I just blind then? Where even is Nem? There she is. I am blind then. Damn. Cool. Okay, I got nothing. Great. Alright, thank you guys. I am just blind. It's Mike's dog. Yeah, it's my just dog shit. It is. Why did I start today? Was it on the Wukong? I'm not sure. A lot of Wukong today. I played the same shit today. Wukong is fun. I like him. Anyway, guys, I really appreciate you stopping by. And yeah, stay hydrated for the love of God. Be nice to yourself. Bye, guys. Have a good one.